Hello, this is Lawrence Mozaffari here, editor of Digital Spy and host of Obsessed with Peaky Blinders on BBC Sounds. So we've had it all. Peaky Blinders Series 5 is completely over and done with, but what's to come in Series 6? I'm here to run you through all the things we need to know, all the things we've heard from the various interviews we've done at Digital Spy, and beware, there's lots of spoilers ahead.
No fighting. No fucking fighting. No fighting. No fucking fighting! Good. Get the fucking...
So first up, Peaky Blinders Series 5 left us with the biggest cliffhanger in the show's history. Tommy Shelby approaches the camera screaming at his dead wife and dead horse with a gun at his head, and then it just cuts to black. All we can assume is that Tommy's maybe completely lost his mind by this point. It's kind of been building up to this throughout the entire series. I don't think that Tommy's about to be shooting himself and killing himself for good, but there is a big question mark around his fate. So creator Stephen Knight has confirmed that Peaky Blinders will be back for Series 6 and probably Series 7. Given the fact that it's leaped over to BBC One for Series 5 and the huge bump in ratings, I think it's a safe bet that we'll be getting both. Director of Series 5, Anthony Byrne, is also coming back for Series 6. So this is the first time that a director has ever done more than one series of Peaky, which is quite a big deal. And he told the Obsessed with Peaky Blinders podcast that we'll be probably looking at early 2021 for Series 6. So we've got quite a while to wait. So now it's time to run through exactly what we can expect from Peaky Blinders Series 6. In the Series 5 finale, we see Tommy Shelby with a gun to his head, screaming at his dead wife that he's imagining and his dead horse, Dangerous, that he shot at the start of the series. I think what it's all supposed to represent is that this is the culmination of Tommy's PTSD and his mental breakdown as he's completely started to unravel. I don't think he's actually about to shoot himself, but with these final scenes, it's quite unclear what's happening in Tommy's head and what's happening from reality. As you remember at the Series 5 rally, he's screaming, "Who did this? Who betrayed me?" Then it suddenly cuts to him and Arthur outside of his house. Then he says, "I've met the man that I can't defeat, I don't know who," marches off into the field, and there's all this big smoke, and it's all quite unclear and quite surreal. So I think the thing to take away from it is that Tommy is mentally broken, and I think that's the thing we're going to see play out in the next series. I don't think he's about to shoot himself, but it'll be interesting to see what sort of state he's going to be in. Speaking of Tommy's mental state, is he going to be in a mental hospital? Is he going to be in exile, permanently bedridden? Or is he going to be a shell of a man that just can't communicate in the same way and someone else in the Peaky Blinders has to take over? Like Michael, perhaps? The other big question surrounding the Series 5 finale is who betrayed Tommy Shelby? He's heard screaming at the end of the episode. Who is it? Special Branch? The Chinese? Oswald? And his voice starts to distort and he's absolutely screaming off the top of his head. So I spoke to the Series 5 director, Anthony Byrne, and he said there's actually enough in the episode for fans to work out who exactly betrayed Tommy if you really, really pay attention. So Anthony told Obsessed with Peaky Blinders, "I think if you paid attention, close attention, yeah, I think so, you can certainly find out. But we actually cut more stuff around that end section to make it more oblique. It's after the gunshot, it's to do with who, it's to do with that very thing. It was in the script, and we shot it. If Tommy doesn't know, we shouldn't know. And at that point, everything is unravelling, and we should be unravelling because we don't understand what is happening and he doesn't." So talking of who betrayed Tommy Shelby, let me run you through all the suspects and all of the evidence. Who did this? So first up is my personal favourite, Michael and Gina. Michael is a slippery bastard and Gina is kind of coming in as a bit of a Lady Macbeth behind him, trying to manipulate things. She's certainly livened up since this drug money came on the scene, and Michael had this big opportunity to try and do a takeover in the Series 5 finale. Could Michael be in cahoots with the Irish that kidnapped him when he came over on the boat from America? Or perhaps he's working with the Billy Boys, who also accosted him when he came over from America with Gina? Who knows? What we do know is that Gina was exchanging quite sneaky looks with Oswald when they were at the ballet together. What could it mean? And finally, quite interestingly, Gina knew who Oswald Mosely was straight away. She's just come over from America. She knows he's not a lord. Bang, she's like, that's Sir Oswald Mosely. Either she's really up in her politics or them two know each other already. Secondly, and probably most obviously, is Oswald Mosely. It stands to reason that Oswald wouldn't want to get shot, so he might want to do something about it. We've already seen him kill Colonel Ben, so he's already steps ahead of Tommy, and it's kind of shown throughout this series 5 that he always knows what's coming next. He can always predict it. He's always 2 steps ahead. So it stands to reason maybe he had some extra goons waiting in the wings, about to attack everybody and to stop his assassination. But you think he wouldn't leave it to the very, very last second. Why not take them down straight away? And why let Tommy think that he's still on side? We won't know until series 6. But I think Oswald is a strong contender for the man that's double-crossed Tommy Shelby. Or perhaps it's someone a little bit closer to home. We know that Polly Gray has resigned from the Shelby Company Limited. She knows that Michael is having a baby with his new wife, and they're shipping off to America, and they want her along for the ride. And now she's fallen out with Tommy, and Tommy said that he's prepared to kill her if he has to. So stands to reason she might be siding with her son Michael, and perhaps this is her making a play to get Tommy out of the way, get her son in charge of the business, and take over essentially. It would be such a massive heel turn for Polly Gray to be turning against Tommy after all this time, but it's not impossible. Also, it's worth remembering that during Michael's hostile takeover attempt, Polly slaps him round the face and says, "Not now, Michael." And the way I read that scene wasn't that don't talk about this at all, don't ever bring this up. It's like, you're going to do this, but not right now. I think Polly is perhaps behind Michael, wants him to try and take over, but she just said that wasn't the right time. So I think her allegiances are murky. So next up is a bit of a wild card, but a potential nonetheless, is Mr. Billy Grade. So Billy is the singer that's hired in Arthur's pub, and then he managed to coax him into gambling on the football, coercing his old football mates into fixing matches, and he's telling them about the drugs they're into, people they want beaten up, if they're cheating on their wives, and basically manipulating people into doing what he wants to fix football matches. So he starts off not really keen on doing this, but by the end of the series he's sniffing cocaine, he's got a fancy suit, Billy's seemingly enjoying the Peaky Blinders lifestyle, but then we soon find out that his wife has left him, assumedly because of his nefarious activities. Arthur throws some cocaine at him, starts to mock him, and you can tell that Billy Grade is absolutely rattled. So later on in the episode, Finn mentions casually, "Here's a bunch of money, go have a good night in the town, someone's going to be shot tonight." A politician, and then he obviously lets it slip, it's Oswald Mosely. So the last we see of Billy Grade in series 5 is him reaching for a telephone to call someone, and we never see him again. We know that Billy's Irish, perhaps he's got contacts with the IRA, perhaps it's contacts with the gang that Michael could be in the cahoots with. Who knows, but all we know is that Billy's got an axe to grind, but does he have the contacts to do something as grand as taking on Tommy Shelby at that rally and killing so many people? Next up, and this one is quite a shocker, is Johnny Dogs. So we know there were sections cut from the final scenes in the Series 5 finale. And who should turn up after the shooting going, "Oh, what's going on, Tom? What's going on, Tom?" It's Johnny Dogs. So Johnny Dogs knew about the plan to shoot Oswald Mosely. He was in that big family meeting. But then again, he stood to earn £30,000 from the hit. Tommy was going to pay him, and he seemed pretty excited about that. So would he really want to screw someone else over to try and get more money? Well, at the start of Series 5, Tommy says that Johnny Dogs is the person he trusts the most in the entire world, and nothing goes amiss in this show, so I'd be surprised if he said that and it doesn't come to play out as a double cross maybe. But could Johnny Dogs be actually that intelligent to put off such a mad hustle? I'd be surprised, but perhaps he's been turned instead by Oswald Mosely. So our next prediction for Series 6 is the oncoming war between Tommy Shelby and Michael Gray.
You know, Gina phoned. Baby's heart's beating strong. But I swear to God, Tom, by the time that baby draws his first breath, you and I will be done.
You can't sleep. When I do sleep, I dream. And in my dream, someone wants my crown. Think it might be Michael.
And the painting on the wall will be of you. His Tommy Shelby will be gone. And it will be Michael Gray arranging the ballet.
Where will Tommy be?
Where he wants to go to most.
So we know that Tommy has been distrusting of Michael since the start of Series 5. He went and lost all that money on Wall Street, and the guy's been pretty snaky throughout this show. As we mentioned before, Michael has already met the Billy Boys before anyone else in this series, and he also got kidnapped by the Irish, so perhaps he could have started a little plot with them much earlier on off screen. And again, let's not forget those interesting glances, quite longing glances, between Oswald Mosely and Gina at the ballet. She also knew exactly who he was when he arrived. Does this mean they've been secretly working together? She's obviously very tight and married to Michael now, so perhaps she's all part of his plan. Michael wants to take over legitimate business, but in actuality, he's going to be driving the drug trade over in America. He tries to tempt over Finn Shelby, who's obviously wanting to live up to being a Peaky Blinder throughout this whole series. He's been trying to shoot people, he's been doing loads of drugs, and he wants to live that lifestyle that Arthur and Tommy have done so much before. They keep telling him that he's just a general, he's going to sit on the sidelines, but Michael tells him, "You've proved yourself now, Finn." And maybe he's trying to get the younger Peaky Blinders on side for his new scheme. But it's safe to say that Michael has the Peaky Blinders rattled. Arthur is absolutely begging Tommy for there to be a 0.5. He wants to turn away from this criminal life. He's lost Linda. He's been involved in violence for so long. He can't be a legitimate businessman. He knows he's a man out of time, and he's absolutely shattered by his PTSD. And he's begging Tommy in the Series 5 finale, please let there be a 0.5. Please let me be able to give up this lifestyle, and maybe Michael should take over. Leave it to the kids, Tom. Leave it to the kids, he says. But Tommy says no, and Arthur is going to be stuck in this lifestyle for a long time. And Polly Gray has resigned from the Shelby Company Limited. Obviously, she's going to side with her son. It's her first grandchild that's come along, and she lost him for so many years. She's finally got Michael back. He's got a new wife. She's got this new life in America and all this money looming potentially. So it stands to reason that Polly's probably going to side with her son, or maybe just be the emotional anchor swinging between Tommy and Michael. They're both on opposite sides of this sort of thing. Tommy wants to keep his chair, Michael wants to come for his crown, and then Polly is torn between the two. She's basically raised both of them like sons, but where is she going to choose to side? So Digital Spy spoke to Finn Cole, who plays Michael Gray, at the Series 5 premiere of Peaky Blinders. And he told us about this oncoming war between Tommy and Michael. It's so difficult to say. I think that he has the skills and the talents, and there are definitely things that we've hidden and subdued about Michael's character points that could be exploited and done in a storyline. As this season goes on, we see more of his true colours, and whether or not it's going to manifest itself in a huge head-to-head with any of his main characters, that's what we've yet to uncover. But executive producer Jamie Glazebrook added, but in a good way with Michael. It's not clear. You're looking for your place, and that creates so much tension, because is it here or over there in America? The tension that has brewed up over 3 seasons sort of slowly starts coming to a head. So next up is Gina Gray's family. We know that they're going to be a big part of the upcoming series. We know that they're a bit more involved in drugs. The Peaky Blinders are trying to build their drug trade in America, and there's some new characters looming on the horizon, so odds are we'll be seeing much more of them in Series 6. It's also worth noting that Gina Gray is pregnant, and she wants her child to be born in New York, so odds are she'll be back there by the time she comes to give birth. So speaking of Gina's family, Anthony Byrne told Obsessed with Peaky Blinders, Gina and whoever her family are going to make themselves known when it comes to Series 6. He also told GQ there's lots to be revealed about her next series. She's a player, she's a manipulator, she's part of a wider plan. And finally, when I had a chat with Stephen Knight on Obsessed with Peaky Blinders, I pitched the idea of Julia Roberts to him, who's a name that's come up around Peaky before, and he said fingers crossed on her, so perhaps Julia could end up playing Gina's mum in Peaky. It's pretty likely that Oswald Mosely is going to return. Anthony Byrne also added that Oswald Mosely and some people around him and his world are going to be appearing in Series 6. So we know that in the later years, Oswald Mosely marries his second wife, Diane Guinness. So in 1936, they marry at the home of Joseph Goebbels, and who should be the guest of honour? Actual Hitler. Yep. So, as we know, as we're approaching the Second World War towards the end of Peaky Blinders, it's likely that maybe Adolf Hitler could appear as a character. We've already seen Winston Churchill, so maybe another real-life political figure is going to make themselves known. I also had a little delve back into real-life history for, spoilers, So it turns out the British Union of Fascists, which Oswald Mosely establishes, gets banned in 1940. We obviously know that never goes anywhere in a huge way, and he never makes a big political comeback. So whatever happens with him is going to be wrapped up by the late 1930s. And it wouldn't be a new series of Peaky Blinders without some new cast as well. I had a chat with Stephen Knight, and he said that he's got a role in mind for Mr. Stephen Graham. There has been lots of chat about Stephen potentially joining as Al Capone, but Stephen Knight ruled that out, and that's definitely not going to be happening. But he does say he has a role in mind for Stephen Graham in Series 6 or perhaps 7, so fingers crossed for that. Plus, it looks like Stephen Graham could be joined by his co-star from Line of Duty, Vicky McClure. Vicky said in some recent interviews that she's auditioned multiple times for Peaky Blinders, and now the creator, Stephen Knight, has confirmed that he thinks she'd be excellent for the show. So fingers crossed, Vicky might pop up in Peaky as well. Is Tommy Shelby going to be a good man by the end of Peaky Blinders? So during Tommy's chat with Winston Churchill in the Series 5 finale, they talk about Oswald Mosely and the fact that fascism and all of the ideas that he's preaching could be the weeds or the new green shoots of a war growing up out of the ground. Obviously, Tommy has seen the horrors of war, he's got PTSD, he doesn't want to go back there. And for all of his illegal activities, his drug dealing, his face cuttings, his fighting and stealing, I could imagine that he doesn't want another war to happen. So perhaps this comes back to the idea of Tommy Shelby becoming a good man, genuinely doing good deeds by the end of the show. Creator Stephen Knight has said he wants to redeem the character by the end of the show, so logically, as we build towards the Second World War, maybe that's where Tommy's motivations are going to go. So for more on Peaky Blinders, be sure to hit subscribe on the Digital Spy YouTube channel. Make sure you give us a like, and if you want more Peaky, head over to BBC Sounds to listen to me on Obsessed with Peaky Blinders. And of course, we have all the Peaky news you could ever want over on digitalspy.com.